Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our second week of our study continue. I'm so glad that you're with us. Today, we are going to continue our study, and we are going to focus today on something called discipleship. Discipleship sounds like a big church word. We're going to learn a lot of big church words in this study, but this one, I want to break it down for you. Discipleship is just the act of being a disciple. And a disciple is a person that follows a teacher in order to become more like that teacher. Maybe you have become a disciple of someone else in your life. Maybe you are a fan of Joanna Gaines or one of the other people who can make amazing things in their home or make their home feel like it's just perfect. Many people I know have become disciples of Joanna Gaines because she can work magic and make a home look beautiful. I am not a very good disciple. I have a real hard time following all exactly the instructions and making myself more like her. Perhaps you have also struggled with discipleship in one way or another. Today, we're going to talk about being a disciple of Jesus because becoming and being a disciple of Jesus is the way that we continue to work out our salvation. And so today, I want to read to you the words of Jesus himself about discipleship. He's talking to his disciples, and this is what he says in Matthew chapter 6, verses 24 to 25. It says, Then Jesus said to his disciples, Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for me will find it. Today, as we are talking about how we can be people that follow Jesus and become more like him, as we become his disciples, we need to look at what his instructions are to us. The first thing he says that we must do if we want to become his disciple is that we must deny ourselves. Denying ourselves doesn't mean we have to give up everything that we have. Denying ourselves mostly means this: we put ourselves last and we put others first. We don't look first to our own interests, but we look first to the interests of others. When we put others first, when we deny ourselves, we are loving the people around us. This is what Jesus has said is the first and greatest commandment is to love God. And the second is like it, to love our neighbor as ourselves. And so as we deny ourselves, we become more like Jesus, more obedient to the things that he said for us to do. We are able to then love others as we deny ourselves. And that's the first thing that he asks of us in this passage in Matthew 16. The second thing that he asks of us is to take up our cross. Now, the cross for him wasn't just a symbol of death. It was a symbol also of suffering. When you decided to follow Jesus, maybe you had the idea that if I follow Jesus, then my life will turn out perfectly and everything will get fixed. I'm sorry, but life really does have a lot of suffering in it. And Jesus doesn't promise to take away our suffering. In fact, he tells us to take up our cross, a symbol of suffering. He says, take it up and bear it. And that means that we should expect suffering in our lives. And that one of the ways that we are like him, as we grow more like him, is that we hold up under suffering. And so we have to accept that it will be hard. It will be hard. It'll be hard to deny ourselves. It'll be hard to follow Jesus. And yet that is what Jesus says we must do if we want to be his disciple, if we want to be a person that follows him as our teacher and becomes more like him, we must deny ourselves and take up our cross. And then what do? We just stand around with our cross? We stand around and keep others first? No. Jesus says the third thing that we must do is to follow him. Now, Jesus sometimes, when you follow him, you think that that road is going to be straight and narrow and just straight on forever. And Jesus sometimes does this thing where he takes a crazy left turn and he looks back and he says to us, "Are you still following me?" So the third thing we have to do when we become disciples of Jesus is we have to follow him. We make Jesus our model. We make Jesus our model of how to live out our life, of what wisdom he gives us in order to follow his principles in our lives. And as we do that, as we obey everything that Jesus has taught us to do, as we obey even part of what Jesus has told us to do, as we work towards obeying and putting into practice things that he has taught us, then we become more like him. Following him. Following him is a continual path. Just like the title of our study, Continue, we start down a path of being Jesus' disciple, but it's not something that we just say we are and then we are. It's something that we continue. When we follow him, it's down a path, and we have to keep pointing ourselves in the direction of Jesus, and we have to keep moving. We have to continue. And so today, if you have been pointed in a different direction, if you have been really focused on the inside, what I want you to do is look outside. I want you to think about, how can I put others' needs first? How can I love them well? How can I point myself in the direction of Jesus? And how can I get moving? How can I keep moving? And so today, I encourage you to take the next step of whatever it is on that path to being a disciple of Jesus. We find life when we find that path and we keep on it. We feel like we're losing our lives, and yet Jesus says, this is how we find it.